That's ELA. In math and ELA teachers, you need to sort of tune into this piece also because students' whole day is changing, right? So we need to be conscious of that and compassionate about that. So shift 1 in math is focus. The big news, and for most math teachers that I have talked to about this, the happy news is it's way less stuff. We're talking about way less stuff, and we're talking about reading it, doing it much more deeply. We're talking about reaching a level of understanding in math because we are creating time to go much more deeply on a very small number of concepts. That's focus. Shift 2 in math is coherence. So now we're talking about the way these things cohere across grades. Teachers are talking to each other about the way these concepts are fitting together across grades. Because the number one predictor of whether or not a student will be successful in college is whether or not they have mastered algebra. The number one predictor of whether or not they're going to master algebra is whether or not they master fractions. The number one predictor of whether or not they master fractions is whether or not they can handle positive and negative integers. And as secondary people, we know so often we inherit students in 9th grade who cannot yet do that positive and negative addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, right? So these are the things that we now know is that there's a clear progression of these concepts across time that we must pay attention to. Shift 4 in math is fluency. Shift 3 in math is fluency. Fluency is the first piece of this rigor puzzle. So what the Common Core does for us is it tells us there are now components to rigor. We have a definition for rigor. So the first definition of rigor is fluency. Fluency is math facts. We're going to spend concrete time in classrooms around math facts. Shift 4 in math is deep conceptual understanding. So no longer are we going to cover, move on, sorry, Johnny, we'll get back to you. We are going to make sure that every single student has the ability to articulate mathematical reasoning around a number of different ways to get to the answer, to prove that they have mastered the math concepts. This is a very different way of thinking about math. No longer is it about the fastest way to yes. No longer is it about the fastest way to the correct answer. It is now about how am I thinking about this and how am I able to articulate those thoughts. Shift 5 in math is application. So we have fluency and we also have application. We are asking students to model. We are asking students to solve problems. We are asking students to make meaning about the world through math and solve problems that are presented to them without necessarily being prompted about the kind of math they're doing. Shift 6 in math is dual intensity. So we're very aware of the math wars in New York State in particular, but certainly across the country, where there's an argument about whether students should be fluent or students should be conducting application. The answer is everybody wins. It's both. So we have had sort of conflicts about how one should teach ELA and how one should teach math, and what the Common Core is telling us is that everybody wins. Students must be thinking deeply about what it is that they're doing. They must be conducting analysis.